within the brotherhood, as it says in the book of Psalms, as we covered when we first started these studies, that it says, behold, how good it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. So, and we looked that word up for unity, it says to dwell, sliga. When you look the word up for dwell, it's actually yashab. Yashab is to sit, to stay, to remain, together in unity. And so, in my 20 plus years of being in the truth, I've witnessed a lot of split ups, division, a lot of division. And once brothers divide, it's like it's not a lot of reconciliation in the walk. So it's a lot of pride and pain and hurt is in the walk. Whereas we're supposed to actually be brothers, and brothers supposed to comfort one another and not actually hurt one another. So we've been trying to cover true brotherhood and what brotherhood is actually supposed to be according to the Most High. And when you build a bond of brotherhood, you build a love and a respect one for another. And that love and respect, from my vision of what true love and respect is I've been in this walk for many years. And so one thing, and that's why I like some of the questions that some of the younger ox are asking, like at age 24, the question that came up a couple of weeks ago, like your 24-year-old self, what would you have said, or what were you teaching, or how were you teaching, or your mannerisms, like, and in my 24-year-old, I was very Pharisaic, I didn't come across in the right ruach. I was, I love the Father and I love my people, but I was still a little too aggressive with how I came at them because I wasn't yet seasoned and wasn't even well learned enough myself to know how it was supposed to be done. But the point I'm making is, when we learn a true brotherhood, we can learn from one another, we can share experiences with one another. But when you have that true love and respect for one another, what I've learned over the years is there's going to be things that you know when you first start off, or you learn, and then as you start to grow, you're going to say, well, I'm a little confused now. I'm a little puzzled on that because I've been reading this scripture here, and then I've been researching this and researching that, and I'm getting a little confused, and my view is starting to change, and it may change, then it may change back after you read something else, because it says, whom shall I give understanding? It says, them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. It said, line upon line, here little, there little is how you gain understanding. So as you start to read more scripture, as you start to do more study, you will start to find out that there is a portion that I was doing right, but then when you see another precept, you're going to be like, but I need to add this too. I wasn't doing this. It's going to be something that you were doing that you're going to say, oh man, I thought this was right all this time, but now that I've read this precept or this scripture, I shouldn't be doing that. And you start adding and subtracting things based upon your knowledge as you start to grow. So with me being in this thing 20 plus years, I know that, and I'm just speaking honestly for myself, there's things that I said I didn't agree with at one point that I agree with today. There was things that I was doing and I disagree with someone that was doing something that I thought was off at the time because of my lack of understanding, that I said they were in error. And then as I studied and the Most High increased my understanding, then I seen I was in error. So then I had to make those changes, So I know that there is a process of growing when going through this walk. And with that, what should not actually happen is how so much disunity happens amongst the brotherhood. We should be able to be wise enough to understand that we may not always see everything eye to eye, but we can agree that we have a love for each other and that we have a love for the Creator, and that love and that respect that we have for one another will never allow us to disrespect each other purposely or disregard each other's feelings and respect for one another. So if you have a love for one another and a respect for one another, even when your views differ, you would know how to still be brothers with having different views. And so that's one of the things that I like to encourage. And it's a gray line, and sometimes the line can get blurred. And that's why I hope that as we continue to have these studies, that the Most High's Ruach will come in amongst us and show us actually the right application of all the scriptures when going forward. So that's just a quick recap. We've also been covering about shepherds and how the Most High say, woe to the shepherds that scatter his sheep, that does not check on his sheep. And we've covered that, yes, we know that in the church world, commonly, the pastor is the term that they use as pastor. But when you read in the book of Yirmiyahu, when it's talking about he's going to give them shepherds or pastors after my own heart, the word there for pastor in the actual scripture is going to be ra'ah, or ra'ah, which is going to be the word for shepherd, okay? So when we look at the term shepherd, then we have to look at the terminology that the Most High uses for Israel. What does he call us? He calls us sheep. He calls us shepherd. He calls us witness. He calls us servants. So when we start looking at all these different attributes that he calls us, what we have to do, and what I've been teaching our Knesset here locally, is that these terms that the Most High uses and he calls us, go and study whatever it is that he's calling us. If this is a sheep, go study the behavior of a sheep. If it's a goat, go study the behavior of a goat. Just research what's the difference between a goat and a sheep. And one thing that I'll share with you that's just in quick, the difference between a goat and sheep that a lot of people may not know is how they feed. The sheep actually feed from where the shepherd leads them. And so now when we associate the book of Tehillim or Psalms, when it says he leads us by the still waters, he places us in the green pastures, he leads us in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. So the Creator provides for us green, good food to eat that we're supposed to receive. But a goat, so a sheep goes and it feeds from where the shepherd leads them to. A goat has a more curious nature. So by the goat having a more curious nature, it does not follow necessarily and go and eat just from where the shepherd takes it at. It would go amongst the brush and the branches and eat things that can actually upset its stomach and eat things that is not necessarily the best for the goat. And it has a more curious nature, whereas a sheep is more so attentive to that which the Most High or that which the shepherd is leading them to without a whole lot of extra. So one of the things that I've asked in the Knesset down here for people to look at is knowing the difference between a sheep and a goat. Ask yourself, which are you? Are you a sheep or are you a goat? Are you one that's willing to follow and submit, or are you one that just always has to be on your own path instead of eating what the Most High is feeding us right now and remaining in the green pastures before trying to go tackle some tough doctrine that you may be still a babe about and you can't understand what's actually being brought forth, and then you lead yourself off. So just sharing all that these are some of the things we've been covering and how we have to prepare ourselves to be sheep first, and then we have to prepare to be shepherds so that we can lead our people in the paths of righteousness for the name of the Most High sake. And last, and before I go into where we're going tonight, we was covering also just about some of the community rule, which we'll be getting back into tonight. That's where we left off at. We've been covering some of the community rule. We're going to go back to that tonight. But we've also looking at the way that Moses received instruction from his father-in-law, and as we highlighted, who was not an Israelite, which showed the humility of Moses, which showed how Moses could take counsel from someone that was not an Israelite, but was a priest of Midian, and he took counsel from him because he was still an elder to Moses. He was his father-in-law, and he had experience, even though it wasn't into being a priest directly to the Most High God. He still knew that the way Moses was doing things was not healthy and was not going to be profitable for him as well as the rest of the sheep if he continued to try to do it alone. So he gave him advice like, hey, you need to appoint others to help you with this. You cannot bear this burden alone, and you cannot bear this work alone. It is supposed to be distributed out to others. So that's when, Moses took heed to that, and it's when he set up captains of thousands, officers, things like that, and they set up the community so they would have a governing body and different people to be sure they're watching after the sheep. So that's why when we actually look at the sheep mindset, at some point a sheep will be a shepherd. So in whatever capacity, whether you're an officer of 50, an officer of 100 or 500, it means if you're an officer of 50, it is saying that you are responsible for these 50 sheep, or you are capable of being responsible for 50 sheep at the time. That's what you've been appointed to. If you're an officer of 100, you are trained in the capacity that you should be able to take care of these 100 sheep to make sure that whatever's going on in the community, whatever commands the Most High is giving down through leadership, you are responsible to make sure these 100 people get the message and get it clearly and understand it. So we see how these things were put in place, and so we're going to be trying to return back to the past of old, some of this renegading and this lack of respect for elders and organization. One thing that's in Israel now, a lot of people have is disorganization. No one respects authority or a chain of command. When we go through this Dead Sea Scrolls tonight, the community rules, as well as we've covered already in the Torah, that's how Moses set it up. So these are some of the things we've covered this for. And the reason why we've covered these things is because if we're going to pull back together as a body or as a nation, some of us need to be rehearsing the righteous acts and trying to do it the way that we've seen our forefathers set them things up in times of old. So tonight I want to jump straight to Hebrews chapter 13. And Kanaki, I'm going to ask you to read for me. Let's jump straight to Hebrews chapter 13. And start with verse 1.
Hebrews 13, verse 1. What's it? Hebrews 13, verse 1. Let brotherly love continue. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained messengers unawares. Remember them that are in bonds, as bound with them, and them which suffer adversity, as being yourselves also in the body. Marriage is honorable in all, and a bed undefiled. But whoremongers and adulterers Achim will judge. Let your conversation be without covetousness, and be content with such things as you have.
So let's just discuss for a moment 13 verses 1 through 4. So, Mr. McCall, I'm not going to open the floor as we always do. What are you getting the highlights out of Hebrews 13 verses 1 through 4? What is those scriptures saying to you? And the floor is open if someone would like to raise their hand. Of course, you know the hand raise feature is over where it says participants. There's a hand raise feature, raise your hand, we'll yield the floor. What are you getting out of Hebrews chapter 13 verses 1 through 4? And why do you think this is something that is going to be something we talk about in an Ish Elohim study? All right, Shai Shamar, the floor is yours, Adon.
So, when it says,
we can't hear you, Achim.
By now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, in verse 2, where it says,
Achim, we can't hear you again. It's like you start off and then you drop out.
Fix my headset. What about now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, in verse 2, where it talks about entertaining strangers, I'm guessing that just means just to be respectful and polite to people. Sometimes all it takes is just, simple, hello, what are you doing tomorrow? What do you have for lunch? What do you have for dinner? How was work? Things of that sort. And then verse 4, of course, a whoremonger is basically just, I guess, a man that sleeps around with anybody, anything. And then adulteress, of course, I'm guessing that's a woman that's married who sleeps with another man or does anything sexual with anybody other than her husband.
Told her I'm going to build on your point in a moment, but I'm going to get some of the other Achim first. So, Adon Jermaine, the floor is yours.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, basically, to sum it up, is a couple words. Love your neighbor. Your neighbor could be man, woman, doesn't matter. Love your neighbor and treat them how you want to be treated, or you want someone to treat your family. That's all I got.
Okay, hallelujah, hallelujah. Adon Abiyahu, the floor is yours, Adon.
Hallelujah. Yeah, I just want to kind of land back on, what Achim just said, about essentially, loving your neighbor. I honestly kind of get something out of each one of these particular verses, let the brotherly love continue. Essentially, this is exactly what Hamashiach, taught us, that we are to love one another as he loved us. So, therein lies, that commandment as far as, what Hamashiach had admonished us to do. Do not forget to receive strangers, for by doing so, you have, some have unwittingly entertained, the Malachim, or messengers. So, again, Hamashiach said, that what you do to the least of them, you do to me. So, again, he teaches us that, in order for us to be a light unto the world, that we have to be able to, show them what the meaning of brotherly love is all about. And that kind of goes also with verse number 3, as far as remembering the prisoners, the same. What you have done to me, what you have done to the least of them, you have done to me. So if we treat those who are in a bad position badly, then we are treating, Hamashiach also badly, and let the marriage be respected by all, and, marriage may be undefiled, for, Elohim judges all those, again, that to me is Torah, where he said that, we're not supposed to be coveting, the next man's, what belongs to your brother, especially his wife and, all his, possessions and so on. And to do so is to, and, that's not what we're supposed to do. So that's just kind of what I get out of those 4 scriptures.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Is there anyone else before I speak? I see the Slicker. Mario Dawo, did you want the floor? That was just Slicker. Oh, he just said Slicker. Okay. All right. Okay. So, yeah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Very good edification, Achim. So, one thing is when you go to Mishlei of Proverbs, it says, with all that getting, get understanding. And so, like, some of these scriptures are so plain and easy to understand, but yet a lot of us, and I'm not saying us directly online, but a lot of our brothers really don't follow the script, or we don't have the fear for the Creator, or we don't have the love of the brotherhood. We don't have the respect for our fellow brother or fellow man because of the way other brothers are committing adultery in the Hebrew community, which is ridiculous. Mess with men's wives. I've heard horror stories of brothers being out the camp, and while one brother's around speaking and teaching the word of the Most High, there's another brother around the corner being fresh with the brother's wife, and they around there flirting with each other. Like, these are horror stories that's in the land, within the community, So, but this text is so clear. So, one thing people can't have is the fear for the Creator if we're doing this nonsense. So, I'm going back to the very first one because it ties right in with Tehillim or Psalms, where it says, behold how good it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. Here it says, let brotherly love continue, meaning it should continue on. It should not end. It should not be a reason why brothers really stop loving one another. And if we get to the point of not loving one another, it's because either one or both have allowed Shaitan in the midst, right? So that is one thing that how you can really tell a true Ish Elohim also is the love that he has for a brother. It shouldn't be when you're at a Knesset or something where a person feels like they're so high up in rank. I'm a Morey, I'm a bishop, I'm a this, I'm a that, and they're not treating their brothers brotherly. They're not treating them with love and making them feel like they're welcome. Like, we're supposed to be welcoming. The feel that we had down in Sukkot, how all brothers just felt like we was all brothers, that's how we should, in any Knesset you go to, you should be able to feel that if you walk in there. It says, be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained Malachim unawares. So this is also letting you know that a stranger may not just be just anybody. That stranger could be someone sent from the Creator himself. It could be a Malachim in the flesh or a messenger of the Most High that we're entertaining. So as Shai Shamar had brought out, we should be mindful to be hospitable to them. We should be polite to people. And see, one thing that I noticed, and I think I might have shared it with y'all on this call before, but the school of thought that I originally come from many years ago, that, they were, of course they was on the hate doctrine. So they was on the hate doctrine. And then they carried themselves with a very prideful and rude mannerism. So we was eating one day while we was at Hebrew Academy. And so at the Hebrew Academy, we went out for pizza for lunch. And when we go out for pizza for lunch, we have 2 waitresses waiting on us, and there's about 25 of us in there eating this lunch dressed in all black, right? So we're in there coming from our Hebrew studies, and the Gentile is like really making us feel welcome. The Gentile making sure, there's 25 of us or more, and she's making sure our drinks are filled. If you need napkins, can get some Parmesan cheese, crushed up, whatever it is we needed. You know what I'm saying? That Gentile was on it. But the sister who looked like us was rude, like, oh, them niggas. You know what I'm saying? She just had that too cute to serve attitude, wasn't being very attentive to our needs, and the Goyim was making sure everything that we was requesting was getting done, and she was very attentive to our needs. So at the end of it, when we about to send the tip, you had the bishop at the time said, Samat Tazawan, Arwan, what y'all doing? Send the tip down here. And, you may be the bishop and all of the school and of the academy, but I'm going to tip who I want to tip because you don't control me to that capacity where you're going to tell me who to tip. The sister did not do anything but roll her eyes at us. Why are we going to give her the tip money? The Goyim was the one who was treating us like royalty. That's what I'm going to give the tip money to. So the reason why I'm sharing it is because there are a lot of times we do not even know how to treat people because of who we think we are. I'm an Israelite. So does that mean an Israelite is supposed to be rude? When you go back to our forefather Abraham, it says, I will bless them that bless you and curse them that curse you, right? So, and when we read the story of Abraham, when Abraham or Abraham, whichever dialect one prefers, whenever he went to a land, the people end up loving and respecting him because the blessings was felt when he came through. Or if a curse was come upon them, then the Most High would tell the individual to go seek Abraham and let him pray for you. Abraham would pray for him. They delighted in Abraham. Even when Lot was giving Abraham a bad name, he was like, listen, nephew, like, look, you need to chill out with how you doing in this land because it's making my name bad. So it even shows you that even Abraham still had respect for the people of the land to the point where he didn't want to drama with them. I'm not trying to offend anyone. So when we're looking at this, it is saying that our mannerisms is supposed to be different than anybody else. We, for one, the majority of us already are some big black guys. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have a meaner looking appearance. But by the words that we come out of our mouth with and by the gestures that we make, it should show that we are each Elohim, a men of the Most High. It should be if someone is looking at you misjudging based upon your appearance, that once you start to speak, they feel the ruach that's within you come forth from the words that you speak. That's who we're supposed to be. That's who we're supposed to be. It's not about being prideful or being an Israelite because you don't know who we're entertaining. And so if we could jump to Bereshit real quick, let's jump to Bereshit. And just to show Bereshit chapter 18, give me verse 1 through 8. Bereshit of Genesis chapter 18.
Bereshit of Genesis 18, 1 through 8.
Yes, sir.
And Yah appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My master, if now I have found favor in your sight, pass not away, I pray you, from your servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that you shall pass on. But therefore are you come to your servant? And they said, So do, as you have said. And Abraham hastened unto the tent, unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, and knead it, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran into the herd, and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hastened to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat.
All right, so let's stop for a second. So one of my reasons for going here is we see that Abraham bowed down to these 3 men who came, which meant that it was something about their appearance, it was something about their presence that he knew they were different than other men. He knew they were Malachim, a messenger from the Most High, or he had some idea because he bowed down to them as bowed down to the Father and called him master. But one of the things I want to highlight is the fact that they were men. It refers to them as men at this particular time. It says how he was hospitable to these men, how he had his wife go and get some of the best meat and prepare a meal, and they did sit down and eat. So the reason why I'm showing this because in the world, people are looking for a Malachim, commonly called an angel, to be a being with wings, with a light that's shining behind them, and you know what I'm saying, with a big staff and a giant and things like this. But they appeared unto Abraham as 3 men. So now when you tie in the Brit Kadashah, and the reason why I do references like this is because you have some that have issues with the Brit Kadashah and some of the writings that's in it. But this right here is just showing that when it's saying that you might have entertained a Malachim unawares, meaning Malachim can take on the appearance of men to come bring you a message. So when a messenger from the Most High comes to you, when Yaakov wrestled, he wrestled with a Malachim. That Malachim was in the presence of a man. When the Malachim, these same Malachim, or these same men left from Abraham, they went to what? Sodom and Gomorrah, to Lot's house. And Lot was hospitable to these same men. Now Lot didn't know exactly who they were. Like Abraham appeared to know more so who they were, but even Lot was hospitable to some strangers that was in his city that came to his gate, not really necessarily personally knowing them. So when we look at the text, how it's written, we see the mannerism we're supposed to have. We see how we're supposed to be. And now I'm going back to Hebrews chapter 14. So when it's so just in the Torah, Tanakh, and the Brit Kadashah, it's really common theme all throughout if we allow the Ruach to guide us and lead us through it. So back to Hebrews chapter 13, it also says, remember them that are in bonds as bond with them which suffer adversity, as being yourselves also in the body. So whenever someone's going through adversity, whenever someone's going through, whenever someone's brought low, whenever someone's down or in bonds, we should put ourselves in their shoes, so to speak. We should be understanding to where they are, and we should have a certain love and a compassion and support. So as we've been talking about community and building community, and one thing that, my dear brother Abiyahu brought out, what his vision of community is, it's about being there for one another. It's about if one needs, we all need. We all need to make sure that one gets what is needed if we can pull together and provide it. That's community. That's loving your brother and continuing to love your brother. That is brotherly love. That is being mindful that you might be entertaining a Malachim or angels unawares. This is showing what the true Ruach of an Ish Elohim is supposed to look like. That if one person is down, we should all be troubled for a moment. Like, is my ark all right? We should be checking on, we should be praying for, we should be concerned about it, letting him know that we're there if they need us. Because place yourself in a situation. What about if something happens to me? Or what about when it was me? We can't forget those things. And sometimes I see people in the walk, they get prideful and puffed up, and they forget some of these things, okay? So, and so now the last one I'm gonna end off with here is, and marriage is honorable in all, the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers Elohim will judge. So to be a true Ish Elohim, we should understand that marriage is honorable. So one thing that we should be doing is trying to make sure that our marriage is honorable in the sight of the Most High Yah first and foremost, but also honorable in the sight of other men and women. It should not be that in the Hebrew community, we always have drama in our marriages. It should not be where it's tales of this brother or this sister messing with many men, or this brother messing with many women, or this brother messing with another man's wife. It should not be mentioned amongst us. We're supposed to be different. We're supposed to be different. So if we want to be the ones that return into the paths of old and the repairs of the breach, these are things that we need to engrave into our Ruach, into our Lev, to say, you know what? I got to show brotherly love, even when others are not showing brotherly love. There's already a scripture to show you how to show brotherly love, even when brotherly love is not shown to you. King Dawood or Dawid showed us that. King David, Dawood or Dawid, whichever dollar you're familiar with, loved King Saul. There was boys until jealousy slipped in. And when jealousy slipped in, because David killed more people than Saul, and the people were like, King Saul killed 1,000, but David killed 2,000. Instead of the king being like, man, I'm glad I got David on my side and my brother as my strong wall of defense. Man, with that boy on my side, we gonna defeat anybody. Instead, he wanted to execute the man because of jealousy. So his heart allowed Shaitan to turn him. But David still had a love for him to the point where he never intended to do any harm to his brother. He loved him, and he still, even all the attempts that was made on his life, David still let the love that he had for Saul continue, and more so not just the love for Saul, but the respect for the Most High, who has anointed him king. That's why he said, I will not touch the anointed of the Most High. I will not do him any harm. The Most High will have to deal with him, but I'm not going to be the ark that's going to touch my ark, no matter how much he's trying to deal with me. But at the same token, what we can gain from David also is this, that even when Saul finally got to the point where it appeared that, okay, this truly, that was my last time trying to kill you, man, return home. We cool. They were like, I love you, bro. I got nothing against you. I would never do you any harm, but I'm not coming back there because David knew in his lab that his ruach is off. And I can still love my aunt, but I'm going to love him from a distance. So that's a difference, too. And that's why I say sometimes the lines can get blurred as to when you have to walk what portion. So sometimes when we are walking in a portion of separating ourselves from someone, it shouldn't be to the point where we're slandering their name, we're ill talking about them, and we can't stand to see them or hear their name, or we want something bad to happen to them. It's just that we know that what they intend for us is different than what we intend for them. So therefore, we remove ourselves from a situation, not to put ourselves close in a position to be harmed by someone that we know may have a bad ruach on them at the moment. But we as brothers should still pray for them to a certain extent. And the reason why I say a certain extent, because we're going to see where there's times when Samuel still prayed for Saul and for the people, because he said he ain't going to be blameless. You know, I'm not going to be blameless in the sight of the Most High. I'm still going to pray for these wicked jokers. But then in the book of Jeremiah, it also tells you, the Most High said, do not pray for them. So you have to be able to know the difference between when to stop praying for someone also, because the Most High said even if Moses and the prophets would pray for them and ask for their healing and deliverance, I will not deliver them. So that's just a balance that we have to learn. But the main point that I want us to see here is that we're supposed to be reestablishing the upright way, and that the way our marriages is, by the way we love our wives, not the way we mistreat our wives, like some brothers that view them as second-class citizens. That's one of the things that, when we was talking about community, one of the question that we have on there that Jaquan made sure to put on there, because we know how some brothers are with women. Are we a community that's going to allow women to be treated like second-class citizens? Because that ain't who we are. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to be the ones that protect our women. We're supposed to be true Ish Elohim. So these are some of the attributes that we need to be trying to return to. Okay. Okay, so we can drop that now. Anybody else have anything on that before I go forward?
No, I can't.
Okay. All right, so again, like I said, one of the main things is let brother love continue. So one of the things that is tough to do is, like I said, when there's differences of beliefs that arise amongst us, it is sometimes hard to walk together. And we've covered already probably a month ago about Amos, and when he said, can two walk together except they be agreed? And when we actually all studied that, a lot of times there's a lot of brothers that use that scripture to try to say, well, I can't walk with you because I don't agree with you. When in reality, when you look at Amos, it was more so talking about people being one with the Creator. So will the Most High really walk with us if we're not in agreement with the Most High's ways and things like that? And of course, we know it says the second commandment is like unto it, love thy neighbors thyself, meaning that it still applies to can we walk together except we be agreed. But the way so many people use that scripture to support their reason for division is off. Because when you go back to Amos, can two walk together except to be agreed, it's talking about people that's walking in covenant with the Most High. Are we willing to walk in a covenant with the Most High? Because you're not walking with the Most High, you're walking against the Most High. So can two walk together except to be agreed? So now, when we get to a point of disagreement or get to a point of not being a cod, that's where the respect and the brotherly love supposed to be able to hold a bond together until the Most High give us some type of revelation or some type of akkad or oneness. There can still be unity if everyone will consent to true love and true respect of their brothers. So there's some things that you just would not be able to walk together on, and the Torah is very clear on that. If a person is into idolatry, witchcraft, a person is denouncing the Most High, a person don't want to keep the law, statutes, commandments, and all these different things, that's one thing. But now we know we're in an age where everyone's trying to return back to this, and we're studying different things. And sometimes where a person studies it, they may be adjusting some things or changing some things, trying to figure out, so they're trying to walk out things that you may not be trying to walk out because you're trying to walk something different out. But the point is, it's still the goal and the purpose is we're trying to keep the commandments, or we're going to keep the commandments. The Torah is the way. And the fact that they're trying to do these things, we shouldn't be so judgmental and Slika, we shouldn't be so judgmental to the point where a brother's not doing things exactly like we do. We don't wear the exact same type of garment. I'm gonna tell you, by me being in the walk 20 plus years, here's some of the things that used to disgust me as a young brother. You go someplace to fellowship, and you should just be happy to see your ox. You know, just like when Uncle Bet and Achim was just speaking about him going through Louisiana. And he was like, man, I wish you was here so we could have stopped, we could have broke bread or something. When you see your brothers that's traveling from far to come congregate with you, the last thing that should happen when you leave from there, back on your car ride, bus ride, or you get back to your Knesset, the last thing you should be doing is talking about brothers' garments and how they dress and, oh, they friendly, they got this kind of friendly, oh, they got the more Jewish type. That should be the last thing that we're talking about. But I've experienced those things where brothers make mockery and fun of their brothers based upon their dress, their style of garment. That is nonsense. If a brother is wearing just the what they kind of call the ZZs, which are the tassels, and you believe that the fringe are the ones that's supposed to be on the bottom of your garments, which look like the wing, well, that's what a real fringe is, and the other ones that's the Jewish thing, and they got them things that ain't no real fringes. That should be what we're talking about. It should be the understanding that that brother has read in the Torah or his Bible, which we know is the Torah, the first 5 books, and he came across, or his leaders came across by Midbar chapter 15 that tells us that we're supposed to wear fringes in the borders of our garments. And so as they start to try to figure out what is the fringe, whichever style one is wearing, that should not be a doctrine that separates us. That's foolishness. And it shouldn't be where brothers are making mockery of other brothers and trying to make teachings and lessons always going against what someone is doing different than they do, instead of trying to find a common goal. Where can we build and grow together? I wear both type fringes. Oh, the Yaquab back again. He said, and then when I missed the message. Oh, you back in already, Yaquab. Okay, that was 9 minutes ago. Okay. Sleep out. Okay, yeah, I didn't even see you come back in. I just seen that message late. Sleep out. So, but these should not be the things that divides us, and brothers should not be making mockery and fun of other brothers as soon as you leave. Man, you see how they wrap their heads, or they don't wrap their heads. You see what they got on looking like mother. You see them fringes they got on them Jews. That shouldn't be. That's division. That's starting schisms and isms. The point should be they have them on because what? They read Torah, and the Torah said you should have fringe. And so when I first came to the world, what in the world is a fringe? Sometimes it's going to be people that's trying to get to what is a fringe, you know? And so as they start to try to research what a fringe is, one of the first things a person does before meeting other Hebrews is they start looking to Judaism for some people. And so when they see them with the tassels, they see them with the talits, then that's what they go for. And so that should not be anything that we're judging anyone based on. You know, that shows a level of ignorance within us when we're doing things that way. So the point I'm making is, so even though we may have some differences, certain differences should not allow us to not let the brotherly love continue. It should not make it where brothers can't still dwell together in unity with differences. When you have the proper respect and love for one another, that should mean that, listen, I know my ox. For example, I have some of the ox. Some of my ox don't believe that you can eat chicken. So when they came up with the teaching that you can't eat chicken because it's a jungle fowl and it's not natural, this, that, and the third, I don't believe that. I understand that it comes from the jungle fowl, but I don't believe it's a created bird. I just believe that, you know, yes, it's from the jungle fowl family, what have you, but because of the way it's designed and the makeup of the chicken, I still feel chicken is clean. They feel like chicken is not clean. So when he comes here to visit from California, when he is here, or when I go to his house and we go out to eat, guess what I don't do? I follow what it says in the book of Corinthians. Those that are strong, better infirmities, and those that are weak. For the shalom, for the continuity of the brotherhood, if I go to his house and we're going to order some food from out, and I know just like you ain't going to bring no pork in my house, if he believes that chicken is unclean, and I'm going to his house in California, when I'm out there, he's putting me up in his house in California, when I go to his house, I don't have to have chicken. Is chicken more important to me than the brotherhood? Because the brother believes it's unclean. So even though he won't be offended if I eat it, I think it'll be offensive for me to take it in his house. So therefore, there's other things I can eat. I can eat steak. I can eat veggies only. I don't have to eat chicken. These are the type of things that I want us to see, that even Shaul himself, that a lot of people feel like they're against Shaul when they're misunderstanding the writings of Shaul, what Shaul was actually saying. What he's saying is, like, man, y'all need to stop letting all this stuff divide y'all and learn how to still walk together. And if you are stronger, if you are the elder in the Ruach, then you take the load. Can you not put meat down? If one believes that a meat is sacrificed to an idol, and you know an idol don't exist anyway, it's false anyway, I don't care if they is praying to some other God and saying this is dedicated to that God. That God don't exist in my book, and that meat ain't gonna harm me. I'm gonna bless it in the name of the Creator, and I'm gonna eat that meat. But if I know that the individual is new, and if they see me eating some meat that they think has been sacrificed to an idol, then they're gonna think I'm with that nonsense.
At the end.
Don't eat that meat. So these are the things that we got to start putting in context what Paul was actually saying and trying to bring forth also. Things like what goes on right now today in our Hebrew community. Brothers separate over things instead of applying the writings that was written. I don't believe chicken is unclean. Your brother believes chicken is unclean. I'm not going to offend my brother. I'm not going to take it into his house because I love him and I respect him and I want the brotherhood to continue. And when he comes to my house, if there's something that he does that I don't allow in my house, then he will not bring that to my house when he comes here because of the love and respect that we have for one another. And even to the point, Mr. McCall, whether you believe it or not, we can dwell together in unity with certain differences. And my aunt that I'm talking about does not call on Yahuwah like we do. He uses Ahia. And we've been brother for many years now, but he believes the name to be Ahia. I believe the name to be Yahuwah. And so he teaches in Ahia, I teach in Yahuwah. And when I go to his Knesset, and when I get up there, he offers me the floor to teach. He introduces me as, this is my Ak, and I get up there and I teach because we're still unified, but we understand the differences that we have. So if there's something that he does not teach in his Knesset, he lets me know that, so that when I go to his Knesset to teach, I'm not going to teach something contrary to what the shepherd of that house has been teaching and feeding his sheep. Can I not find another topic to talk on today? These are the type of things that I'm saying some brothers want to focus more on the disunity in the community instead of trying to find out why us, me and this brother brothers. The reason why me and that brother is brothers like we are, because I see his heart. I know the brother was homeless when the brother had a bunch of money, but he refused to work on Shabbat. He refused to work on Shabbat. Lost a good job, good paying job, lost all his money, lost all his finances, lost his home, and was living in a warehouse because he wouldn't keep Shabbat. Because he was keeping Shabbat, he refused to work on Shabbat. The Most High then increases him, reblesses him. He has a home, he has money back, and he has his family back, and all that stuff's intact. But I seen his heart for the Most High. He believes in keeping the commandments. He believes in not messing with other people's wives. He believes all those things. Our difference is he believes that the name is Ahia. I believe that the name is Yah. So why divide when we can understand that we both believe in the same Most High? But right now, my level of understanding of the Hebrew, his level of understanding of the Hebrew, well, I'm going to stick with this right here. And I'm like, well, I know it's this, so I'm going to stick with this right here. But we still at Shalom. And we've been at Shalom for years with him calling on Ahia and me calling on Yah. So what I'm saying is there are instances where brothers can still dwell together in unity with those differences. But there has to be a certain love and respect. The issue that I find a lot of times is there are brothers that cannot hold their tongue or will not hold their peace. They're going to always try to show discord. They're going to always try to do something to offend someone else when they feel like your belief is beneath their belief, and they're going to always try to do something to offend or put something on the floor to cause division. And that's what will not allow the unity to remain. So real quick, let's go, before I go in for Maury Dawood, I heard your mic come unmuted. Were you trying to say something, sir?
No, sir. That also was an accident. It's likely. I'm just listening because I got a lot of background noise.
Okay. So does anyone have anything at this moment before we go forward? Jermaine, you want the floor? Y'all bear with me. I got to do a screen share for them. Y'all bear with me one moment.
Silika.
Yes, sir, as I can.
Shalom to everyone. I'm so glad to hear this teaching. I came in about 15 minutes ago. I was on another call, but what you just were talking about, in this country alone, as an example, depending on what region you're from, how you've grown up, what you've heard, there are different dialects and ways of saying things. But when people are talking about, say for example, an object, I say tomatoes, someone says tomato. We see it right there before us. We know what the object is, but someone is saying it a little differently than I would say it, and it sounds differently to my ear, but we understand exactly what it is that we are communicating and what our focus of attention is on. So that's just an example of what it is that you're talking about. And before this thing is all over, we're going to have to pull together and come together. And the schisms that exist cannot exist because we're going to have to pull together. But anyway, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad for the invite.
Hallelujah. I told her for the wisdom that you shared just now as I came. And it's a pleasure, honor to have you on with us tonight, sir. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right. So we're going to move forward real quick to Romans. Kanaka, if you give me Romans chapter 16. And let's go 16 to 17. And then we're going to jump to 1 Corinthians 1 and 10, starting with 10. So give me first Romans chapter 16 and 17.
Hey, Maury, Elder Lasimba had his mic open. I don't know if he wanted to say something or not.
Okay, Tola, Elder Lasimba, the floor is yours, sir.
Shalom, brothers. I was just listening to what you was just saying, and everything that you said sound like the brothers that I study with right now. It sounds almost like him, so I'm almost sure that it is, because that's the name that they use. But I've never said that to anybody here, because for me it don't make a difference so long as we're trying to unite as a people, no matter what the difference is of how we go to school under. We still want everybody trying to figure out what's the right way to do all of this, because we lost all of it. So now we're teaching ourselves, each other, amongst each other, in different areas of each other, trying to figure out what's the best way to do this, and we still having difference in the day we keep not the day we keep the Sabbath, but the day we keep the Passover, and the day we keep the feasts. You have abundance of different calendars out there when we should be at one. So how do we do that? How do we break down all of this, as the brother was just saying, us uniting? How do we start fixing all of this to come to one understanding where, for everybody, even though if they have at least start with that for me, even if they have different doctrines, how do we get to one Passover where we all looking at the same thing with the same understanding, with different doctrines, if that's how we want to go? But at least that, to me, that should be something that we can come to one accordance, and how we can come to having one Sabbath, one Passover that would take us into all the feast days where everybody's celebrating it at the same time, even with different doctrines. Also, on a side note, Brother David, I hope everything is well with your family because we were supposed to have class, I think last Sabbath, and we wasn't able to because you had an issue, and I hope everything is well. I yield.
Total Rabadon, Zach Quain, first of all, shalom, shalom, like Paul. Sorry, I'm super late on the call. We just got finished watching Judas and the Black Messiah. Very interesting movie, which kind of lines up with what I believe that we're talking about here in terms of unifying. And I just want to touch on the question that Zach Quain just asked in regards to how can we do, or how can we find ourselves all participating in Pesach on the same day. And the harsh yet currently true answer is we can't. Until there is a changing of the guards, changing of the guards with a change of mind, the Moedim are going to be untouchable right now, right? So how do we become one and become unified, gather ourselves, as the scriptures say? We have to do that outside of the Moedim. So instead of fighting for the calendar, right? Okay, well, you do Pesach March 28th, well, we're going to do Pesach March 29th, but our Pesach is in April something, and, all the craziness between the different calendars. How about we say, okay, all right, well, look, you do Pesach on the 27th, I do Pesach on the 28th. I don't know why, but you can do Pesach on April 25th. That's told, okay? All right, but how about May 1st, after Pesach is over, May 1st, we all come together, and we have it's May. Hopefully it's good weather. We all come together and we have some type of event, some type of cookout, some type of family building event, right? And if you have 4 of those starting out, one each season of the year, some shape, form, fashion, whether you're inside, outside, watching a movie, whatever you're doing, but we're doing it together, then eventually those walls are going to get broken down because now we're going to actually be able to touch the calendar on the Moedim. But right now, coming to a table and talking about Moedim, it's not going to happen. Coming to a table talking about the name, it's not going to happen. The language, all of the things that we currently fight over that have been fought over since Maurice Amasa, he's been in over 20, hallelujah. Zach Quain, Lasimba, he was there at the inception of One West, pretty much. That's over 20 years as well. Hallelujah. They've been fighting over it then. So that fight is the wrong fight. The fight we need to be at arms about is how do we unify outside of that, right? So it's a scene in Judas and the Black Messiah, Fred Hampton. So it's a historical event. Everybody know about the Rainbow Coalition. If you don't, pretty much Black Panthers, a Latino group, and a Caucasian group all come together, Rainbow Coalition, right? So you see him go into the Hispanic, you see him go to a family a funeral for the Hispanic group, and he touches on something that is similar to them. He goes to the quote-unquote Proud Boys of today, then, right? He goes to the Proud Boys. Of course, they're black, white, they got the Confederate flag, so on and so forth. And one of his people starts to say, I see the flag and I see my people hanging and so on and so forth, about to start a fight. He says, well, what if the overseer and the slaves killed the master? So he brings the unification on something that they both can agree on. So bring it back to Israel. As Israel, if we claim to be Israel, okay, what is our focus? Our focus, one, of course, is serving the Creator. All right, cool. That's going to be very, very sensitive. How each group, I'm sorry for talking so long, but how each group serves the Creator, that's going to be sensitive to touch. But the second part, the second greatest command, which is love your brother as you love yourself, that is the command that we can start pushing buttons on. So if we want to get together, which everybody on this line I believe has a heart to do, and there are many others within the community which I call organic Hebrews or organic Israelites, the organics can come together and we can start to build outside of the Moedim. Can we do that? And I yield.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Yeah, and I know, Achim, that's a topic that's sensitive to you because you brought that up before, and I think Don Dawood just answered it well just now, that it does have to be, and that goes right back to like what I was saying at the very beginning, and of tonight's study, and when I was doing the reflection or the summary of what we've been covering up this far, and we talk about the brotherhood and the love of the brotherhood. Let that continue. That same love and respect. If you first build those bonds of love and respect, then at some point, as Maury Dawood said, you could possibly get to the point of getting touching some other subjects at some time once you establish a relationship and a respect and love for one another. And then also another side to it though, just from my years of being in it and experience of being in, also he used the term organic. And he's using organic, meaning those that are purely trying to, not that we're saying we're righteous, or more righteous than anyone else, or we're perfect, but we are willing to try to humble ourselves. We are willing to try to build. We are willing to walk in the love. We're willing to try not to cause division. We're willing for those things. So that's the more organic, the ones that's truly trying to walk in a certain ruach with a willingness versus those that will actually be in opposition. Because what I will say with some of the doctrine, not all of them, but some of the doctrine, some of the things, there is also a pride that goes along with it. So even if we do establish certain love and brotherhood, now there's going to be ego and pride that still some will not let go of. And that's where the parable of the wheat and terror comes in at. Now, once you get to the point of now a person really know that you love them, and then you start going into certain things, that'll now start to show wheat and terror tendencies, who are willing to humble themselves and who is not willing to humble themselves in certain regards, especially when evidence is supporting this or that. And I will say one of the things that I've done, Achim, just over the years, when my brothers started going to a different calendar than what I went to, I kept 2 feasts. Now, I didn't keep, I appeared to keep 2 atonements, but I didn't keep 2 atonements. What I would do is I would not eat when I was present with them, and I would just, I would have my meal before going to a service with them, but if I wanted to go fellowship to build with them because they was in town or they was having a gathering, I would go, but I would keep 2 feasts, meaning if I was keeping Passover at one time in North Carolina and in Georgia they was on a different date, for the sake that we used to all come together and not to show the division and the Knesset of some of the changes that was happening, I was still at the feast in North Carolina as well as in VA or Georgia or wherever we were gathered at the time, and I would still appear during the other day. That was me trying to keep the unity, but my heart was still where my belief was. And I let it be known to my Achim that I'm doing this because this is what y'all believe, and I want to be with my brothers. But I don't really observe this as the day, but I'm going to respect it as the day with you all because of the respect of the brotherhood and the fact that what you have been teaching is the word of the Most High, and y'all still want me to teach a lesson while all the people are gathered together. So I'm here to teach my lesson on whatever the time may be. So my lesson, if it's on unleavened bread, I'm not teaching the date of 11 and that this date is the wrong date. I'm teaching what is the significance of Chag Matzah. What is the significance of unleavened bread? And we need to be purging ourselves from sin. We need to be, so that's the type of lessons I would teach, even though it would not even be on the same day. That was me. That was some of the things that I would do. But then what I would see, what I would start to see also with that is that everyone did not do that same thing. So it may be, I would be willing to do this one way, but it wasn't reciprocated, another way. So it's all based upon how we're trying to keep the unity. So the reality of it is, it comes down to what Dawood just basically said, it's almost impossible, until, there's some other things that take place that the Most High wants to be done. And that's the reason why, but I do think that collectively, if we start having more Achim, like what we're doing tonight, how we've been having this men studies, we've been growing more and more COD, we've been talking about certain things, and as Maury Dawood says, and I believe pretty much all of us on this line have a willingness to love our brothers. You know what I'm saying? But the reality of, like I said, because of my years in, I can tell you that when I came in, and Elder Achim, I know for you also, back during the time of One West, and during the time when all that was first coming about, it was not as many different dates as it is today. It was one day difference, Dark Moon or the Slither. It wasn't as many dates. The internet has really made it where a whole lot has started to change, and that's why we see more and more division. Some of it is done organically, meaning there's people studying things and they believe it to be what they're seeing is right. So they're saying, you know what, I'm going to change because I see this is what it is. And then there's some that do some things because of pride. And so again, when pride and ego comes in, you leave certain things alone. And even when you have respect for the brotherhood and a love for the brother, you have to also know when, at least I've learned to do so, you have to also learn to know when there's a stumbling block present that it's still not the season to deal with that thing. Because my study of the language, I'm not saying I'm a scholar with the Hebrew, I'm not saying I'm the best in the Hebrew, but I can tell you what's in the script, and I can read it from the script. So now my thing is, if in the script it says Yod, Hey, Wah, Hey, and it's written in Torah, that's what his name is. Whether you say Yehovah, Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahuwah, Yahuwah, Yahweh, they're trying to pronounce Yod, Hey, Wah, Hey. And so, not to be offensive to anyone that may still use other rendering, but Aleph, Hey, Yod, Hey is not written there. Ahaya is not written in the place where it says, this is my memorial to all generations. So, that is now a humbling process that will have to take place at some point if we're just going to say, what does the text say? And if we get to the text and it says this, what does the text say? So, you got to have some textual criticism and stuff like that too. So then that becomes a thing. Now you have to be able to identify, is this something that they're ready for? Are we to the point where our brotherhood is tight enough where I can say, hey, I'm not really trying to be offensive, and I don't have an issue with Ahaya. I don't think Ahaya is wicked or anything. But, which I had to do to my aunt, I did warn him about saying Yahuwah is wicked, because I'm like, listen, you need to be careful with that, because that would be blaspheming in the name of the Father. So even though you may not support it as the name, the teacher who taught you that it means the God of wickedness and the God of mischief, that is a lie. And I can't stand by letting you teach that nonsense. So you better halt with that, because that's just me being a brother. And I got to warn you of that. Now you don't have to use the name, but please do not teach after your teacher saying that Yahuwah is the God of wickedness. But now going back to that, when are you to a point where you can say, hey, let me show this in the scripture, and it keeps the unity. So that is a topic that I know is a very sensitive topic, and so I just leave it alone, because Ahaya is written, or Ahaya is written in Shemot chapter 3:14. However, when it says the moreover, it goes and it says Yahuwah, Yahweh, whichever dialect one is familiar with. That's what's written there. So that is the reason why I have to stick with that is the name of the Most High, because that's what's written. And it's not a doctrine that a brother created and started pushing, and now everybody's gravitating towards that. But because of my time in and because of my study, I know people that stays dead fast on a name that's not written there that can't read Hebrew. And yes, I have somewhat of an issue with that, but then I just take the low for the sake of the brotherhood and wait for the right time to say, now let me show you what I'm really trying. When you got enough time, we can go through this language. Let me show you these things. So short answer is, again, what Dawood said, it's almost impossible to really have that full unity. So we have to learn how to walk in the Ruach and hope that the Most High can lead us all together by us walking in the right Ruach, by them seeing true respect and true love and true humility. I hope that will help us be able to grow at least a body of true Ish Elohim, or men of Elohim. But it's a very difficult task. It's a very difficult task, and that's why I say it's some great lines that the vision gets blurry sometimes. So, Kanaka, if you would, real quick, let's jump to Romans chapter 16 and 17. And then we're going to jump to 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and 10. So give me Romans chapter 16 and 17, and then jump to Romans chapter 1, start verse 10.
Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which you have learned, and avoid them.
Now jump to 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and 10.
Now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Master Yahshua Mashiach, that ye all speak the same thing, and that there be no divisions among you, but that ye be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment.
So, what do y'all get from those two verses?
First and foremost, you have to be aware, or beware, I should say, of those who want to cause division among you. And again, I kind of, point back to Torah when, the tents of Korah stood against Moshe in an attempt to, create that division. We all know the story there and, what took place, when the Most High stepped in and he made his judgment. So, we must be constantly mindful and aware of those who do want to continue to create, like you said, you always want to point out the division among us, as opposed to pointing to the unity. Because if you always focus on that negative, then that's what you're going to get is that negative. But if you focus on the positive things that unify us, then as time goes on, those divisions, will begin to blur and eventually disappear, as we begin to, start to kind of come together. So, first and foremost, we have to be ever mindful and beware of those who continually want to try to create those divisions. But at the same time, this is an admonishment to always focus on, that which will unify you. Because, a house divided amongst itself, how can it stand? Unless two be in agreement, how can they walk together? So, there's, countless witnesses throughout, Scripture that kind of, really support what's being said, in these two particular verses. So, now you.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Torah, Don. Shah Shamar, the floor is yours.
And where it says, join together in the same mind, one thing I thought of was, me and one of my family members, we were talking about, words and phrases that you can't say. And then we kind of got confused on some words and phrases. So I said, well, let's say this word is a curse word or a quote-unquote word that you can't say. If it was a word, would you have a problem giving it up? Because if we didn't know what the word was, would you have a problem giving it up if you couldn't say it? And if you do, I guess there's a problem there.
Torah, Don. Anybody else?
Quick question, though. Are these verses saying that you should? Well, okay. So verse 10 in Corinthians, right? 1 Corinthians 1 and 10, right? It says that there'll be no divisions amongst you, right? But you be knit together in the same mind, the same opinion. Well, what kind of division are they talking about?
This question.
Yes, sir.
This question for the floor.
Yes, sir. Or you can answer it, and because I know it's closer to. Well, you ain't got to answer it, though. I'll put that to the floor. So it says, and I appeal to you, brothers, by the name of our Master Yahushua HaMashiach, that you all agree that there be no divisions amongst you, but that you be knit together in the same mind and the same opinion. What kind of divisions are they talking about? Are they saying that we can't disagree, kind of like what Maury was just, what Maury Smart was just saying in terms of what the scripture says, that we shouldn't have those type of divisions, that we should.
Shalom. Actually, I was just about to say that ultimately, from what I understand in all of this, is that it always points back to Torah. It's always about the instructions. It's always about, what the Most High has said. So, because outside of that, there really is nothing outside of that except for your opinion. So ultimately, everything points back to Torah. Everything points back to the instructions. So when you sit down and you're, getting back to the feast days and so on. Okay, so when does the feast days? When is it talking about? Or just, just simply, Shabbat, or something to that effect. What is it saying in the Torah? So we need to really dig deep in that portion, to be able to come together, and have no division among them, work that out, with humility, to be able to understand, so that we all come had or, on one accord, on that. Because outside of that, everything else is, in my opinion, is just that, opinion. There is no life outside of Torah, ultimately. So therefore, that's where we all have to stand in common ground. It's on the scripts. So.
Adon Yaquat?
Toda Amore. Shalom, Achim. I think, to me, these are letters to the leadership of the churches in Corinth and the churches in Rome. And so, to me, I think he's speaking to the leadership that the people, the followers, the members of those Knesset, those churches, don't see any division in that leadership. They can disagree on doctrine with each other, but when they do present this, that there should be, it should be a unity in, and I'm going to say doctrine, that there's a unity in doctrine when the leadership presents this. I think Shaul, I think Paul is talking to the leadership about that division, and then inside that leadership, if there's that they should be able to identify those in the leadership that are causing division, and note them or that one that is causing the leadership and avoid him. But when they, as leaders of the churches there, the Knesset's there, they got to be achad, so the people don't see any division. That's the way I'm seeing it. That Paul is trying to tell these leaders in the church that there can't appear to be any division in that leadership.
Maury, the floor is still yours.
Oh, okay, okay. So, I mean, I asked that because I kept reading in both. In Romans, it was speaking about those who are not serving the Creator, but serving the Creator. In the scriptures, it talks about serving Mashiach, but serving the Creator, but they serve their own bellies, right? So avoid those who are trying to cause division in order for you to follow them. And then, so they're not causing division because of truth. They're causing division because of themselves. Corinthians is of the same thing, that, I beseech you not to have divisions amongst you, because some people are saying they're of Shaul, they're of Apollo. Don't begin to have sex, right? I'm taking my time. I'm a little bit confused. So in Romans, that's simple. So we're not saying that there won't be divisions, because we understand that there will always be a division between wheat and tares, between righteous, wicked, light and darkness. So there will always be divisions, right? On the other side, when we're talking about different doctrines, as far as, okay, whether the earth is, if we're talking about things that are outside of salvation, there shouldn't be any division amongst us. Because at the end of the day, those things don't matter in terms of, well, we can come up with a very grand list of items that really hold no merit as far as salvation. But when it comes to salvation, in terms of obedience to the Creator and faith in the Creator that He is the one that saves, then are we going to have division then? I know this is kind of more, it's kind of, it can seem contrary to what we're speaking about in terms of coming together, but in that coming together, would we want to come together and would we want to come together at the cost of teaching true salvation? Because, I mean, and Mike can answer that, but that's to me, that's the question. Because I think that too often we are seeking unification with people that aren't necessarily seeking salvation. So we want to join with with not even just camps, but yet, okay, yes, we can. Those are easy to point out. The people that you see in Walmart, or you see on the street, they got fringes and you got ZZs, and you say shalom and they don't even look at you. That's easy to point out. But even within the quote unquote homegrown assemblies, those who are just there, those who are just seeking whatever is convenient, whatever looks good upon them, garment of righteousness but dead bones within. Those people, why do we continue to seek unity with them when in all actuality we have enough within ourselves to get stronger and to actually put in work? So within us, okay, boom, we don't have those issues. We don't have those issues. So now we have a choice on whether to put off the work and seek unification, or put in the work in those who are of a like bone that fits with our bones, and flesh that fits with our flesh. As far as Ezekiel 37, when the bones were coming together, those bones that fit this body will come. And the things that we need to work out in-house, because of the spirit of humility that I believe that is within the brothers that are on this line, whatever we need to work out, whatever doctrines that we need to work out within us, okay, cool, we can do that. We can do that. We can work those things out within us, because our goal which is what it was saying, is serving the Creator. Following after Mashiach, yes, just in case, for those who think, anyway, yes, I believe in Mashiach, but he's the door, right? So we're supposed to be going through the door to the Creator. So the goal for everybody on this line, I believe in my heart, because I know most of y'all, is to seek the Creator. So why not just do that? And everybody else, they're going to fall where they may. And if they fall and we're able to pick them up and they actually reach their hand out, as we reach our hands out, then we're going to grab their hand and we're going to pull them up to where they need to be. I yield with that, Moray. I hope I didn't throw anything in there that wasn't supposed to be in there, but okay. So.
Hold on. That's how we do it. We allow the Ruach to lead. So that's a thought that's on the floor. We put it on the floor. We're going to discuss it. So I told her for that. I'm going to get back to some of what you discussed. But Sean Shamar had his hand up, so I'm going to get him real quick. Sean, what you got, Don?
Yeah, I was listening to, I was actually listening to Corinthians today, first chapter. And one of my favorite precepts was 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4, which says, charity suffers long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself up and is not puffed up. So I was wondering what you guys thought about that. That kind of ties in what we were talking about.
Yeah, it ties in because, of course, that word, that charity, agape, is actually going to be a term that's going to be used for love. And, it's just showing all the humility and stuff that we walk in. It's not puffed up. So it's willing to take the load. It will suffer for its brothers. So, yeah, that ties in. That's some of the ruach that we have to have. And that's actually a good text to go to. But I want to go back to this division because Moray Dawood brought up some good points. One of the things is we do need to define doctrine. I won't get it at this time, but if we go to and we look up what is doctrine, all these words can be defined in here, but I'm just going to read it at the base level real quick. Now I beseech you, brethren, mark them which cause divisions and offenses contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them. So for one, it's letting you know that there are going to be those that's going to come that's going to try to disrupt what you already have, what you've already received. There's going to be those that's going to come try to disrupt what you already know or what you've already been doing, and they're going to be trying to come contrary to that doctrine, and they're going to be trying to bring division. They're going to be trying to cause schism. And I like what Abiyahu brought out because he referenced one of those divisions when Kohath, when they came against Moshe, they wanted to operate out of their capacity, so they wanted to come with a different, like, it's only Moses and Aaron this, so they brought a whole other thing and got 250 men on board with them to bring division to the priesthood, So it says here that you should mark them and avoid them. So if there's anyone that is purposely trying to cause division, when I say purposely, meaning you never see where they're trying to unify. You never see where they're trying to humble themselves and take the low, or never see them saying, well, I quite don't see it that way. Let me go and meditate on it a little bit and get back with y'all. But they just always got to be trying to be in opposition to everything. They always want to disrupt the brotherhood. We've covered, I think it was not last week, in the council last week, but the week before last, when we covered the things that the Most High hate. He said he hates a person that disrupts the brotherhood. He hates that. He said he loves the brotherhood. He loves a husband and a wife that loves each other and agrees together. He loves that. So anyone that would disrupt that, he hates that thing. That's something that's, he said, you don't only hate that. It's an abomination for us to disrupt the brotherhood. So if anybody's coming with, like what we're doing right now, this is a form of doctrine. We are, our doctrine, our teaching, our understanding is, this is what love is to us. This is how each Elohim is supposed to conduct. This is our doctrine. Our doctrine is right now, Torah, we all know Torah is the base. That is the laws. You can't get around that. That's how you must do it. But now what is our understanding of the Torah? What does love actually look like? How do we fulfill the Torah? How do we be each Elohim? Love your brother continually. Have respect for your brother. And like as Moray Dawood said, but when you have those brothers that will not even shalom you because you're not from their camp, because they don't like the way you dress, because they don't like the fact that you accept Goyim, then at that particular instance, that's someone that's in opposition. That's someone that does not agree with what you teach. that's someone that's going to speak against the fact that we're saying that we're supposed to uplift our sisters and how we treat our women. When you have someone that is now saying to us, y'all are simps, y'all are this, that, and the third, cater to women and all that nonsense, and they think that a woman is a second-class citizen, and you can mistreat them, and all a woman's purpose is to do is to serve a man, and you can talk to them like dogs and disrespect them. That is a person that's now always causing division. And, I'm just going to give some examples of just some things that I know happen in the flesh. Won't call on names, but these things are happening. We had a Knesset, and the Ruach is leading our Knesset in a certain way. At this particular time, it was health and wellness, trying to get your diet and eating habits in order, how to love your neighbor, how to love the, and so everything that we teach then becomes attacked online. That's a person that's in opposition. That's someone that's contrary to what it is. And then they will, shalom, Achim, get you some rest, Adon. Good to have you on with us tonight, Jermaine. That is a person that's in opposition to what we teach. And now what they do is to the younger Achim, they get in the younger Achim's ear behind the Morian elders' back and trying to corrupt their thought process by trying to say, oh, that ain't how it is. See, trust me, it should be like this. Oh, so you're trying to teach younger brothers how to mistreat women? You're trying to say that us preaching health and wellness is a negative thing, and you're in opposition, and this is what you're going. That is someone that's speaking contrary to the teaching, contrary to the ruach that we're walking in. So as Morey Dawood was saying, so there's going to be some that, if they extend their hands back to us, then we can pull them up. But if not, we have to walk with the like-minded that's trying to walk in the same direction, because it tells you to also avoid them. And so remember at the beginning I said this lesson's going to get a little, sometimes things can get a little gray or get a little blurry, because in one instance we're saying let brotherly love continue, but then in another instance we're saying mark someone and avoid someone. But again, David avoided Shaul, but David never did no harm to Shaul. But he did start to avoid him because he was now marked. He understands that he is against me, so I'm not going to get back into him. Going back to Corinthians, then I'm going to try to touch on some of the points that Kamori Dawood was bringing out, because we're to our 10 o'clock mark. He said, brethren, by the name, she got a wrong word. Yeah, now, verse 10. Now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Master Yahushua Mashiach, that ye all speak the same thing, and there be no divisions among you, but that ye be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment. So, as Abiyahu was saying, so we already know judgments is actually going to be written in the Torah anyway. So that's what we have to go at for. Okay, Dom. Let's see. So these are the judgments are already written in the scriptures. But when it's saying let there be no divisions among you and that you speak the same thing, if and not tying in with what Yaquab has brought up. When Adon Yaquab brought up the point that, with the leadership, because when you go down and you read further down in the text, you read further on, it's going to show you how the division was. And people were saying, I'm of this house, I'm of that house, I'm of Paul, I'm of Apollos, I'm of this, that, and the third. We shouldn't be divided like that or just putting a man's name over the Most High, over Mashiach. What is the actual character of salvation, as Maury Dawood was saying, what they teaching in? Is all this stuff that you bringing up trying to lead people to salvation? Or is all this stuff that you bringing up going to cause division and disrupt the unity of the brotherhood, of the Mishpachah? So as Adon Yaquab was saying, it should let us all know that we should speak the same thing, so that we're not even causing divisions either. Meaning, speaking the same thing is not going to mean we're going to sound exactly like with our voice. You're going to sound like me. Y'all know I speak a little hard and heavy and I get real loud. That's not everybody's way. Dawood speaks in a different tone than I do. Kanakya's monotone. Yaquab's voice. We all have our different way of saying things. But when we come together for a common goal, if we say we're going to come together on this day for Hebrew unity, and let's try not to have any division, can we agree that these topics right here are off the floor today? We're going to teach on loving your wife and respecting your husband and submission to the Most High, period. So when we come out and we do these things, if anyone says, well, nah, because I got to do this, then maybe you have a spirit of division, because the function today is actually about unity in marriage. How to treat a wife, how to treat a husband, and how to submit your marriage into the Most High. Why do we have to get on a doctrine that would cause division? Why is it a must that you cannot hold that today, that of all days when we have agreed that this is what we're going to bring forth, This is the goal we're trying to reach. We have new people out here on the floor today. Everyone is new. Why don't we just teach them milk? Let us teach the basic commandments of loving the Most High with all your heart and soul. Thou shalt not commit adultery. The basic things that's going to lead us to salvation. Why isn't that what we're focusing on? Why are we focusing on things that really, if you want to be really realistic, that some of us won't be able to prove until the Most High reveals some of this stuff? Why is flat Earth or round Earth dividing us? So you're going to make this a debate or division, but what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? What they got to do with salvation? So that's why when Maury Dawood asked, what is these divisions? What is dividing? The division is when somebody's coming and interrupting the Ruach also. When there's something, the way the Most High is moving, and the Most High is moving within the mission, because like right now, we have been harmonious, all brave into the Most High on these men studies for a very long time. If you hear, not just from what, that's the reason why I always open the floor, because when you open the floor and let every man speak before a moray even edifies, every man always sees that they understand, they comprehend the scripture for themselves. And we may just add a little bit more or a little bit more understanding, but the point is you already understood what it said because you read it for yourself before it was a thought forced on anyone. You read it right from the text. So, just to give an example, just this week, me and Maury Dawood spoke. What is our stance on the feast days? Well, what are we going to do right now as we still continue to work on researching more information on calendar and things like that? What are we going to agree to so that we can let the people know so that they can get their days off work and so we can come together and enjoy the feast? That is us coming together of the same mind, being joined together, and also saying that as of right now, there's still questions as to what's actually the right or not right date. But we've already been on a time slot that we've been on. Are we continuing that way? Are we still researching? Or should we just continue like this until we finish researching? Okay, here's what we're going to do. We agree. Okay, we touch and agree. We are one. We have one mind. Our mind has now been, listen, here are the dates that we're putting out. Here's the date that we're going to celebrate Pesach. Now we just got to put the ceremony and everything together, but we have one mind. And we're not going to get there at the feast and say, oh, Dawood, you're on the wrong date. That's not causing division. The division, the unity has to come from being perfectly joined together in the same mind, meaning Yah is our Elohim, and we're all trying to return to Him. Let us try to do it with the brotherly love, and let us continue in that brotherly love. And like I said, it is a great area. And the question that you asked, Maury Dawood, we may have to get on next week to. So if everybody would just kind of meditate on this chapter, Romans and Corinthians, and focus on what this doctrine actually is, what was actually specifically being talked about at this particular point, so that we can actually start the conversation off next week, just for a little while on this topic. But I did want to go to the Dead Sea Scrolls, but it's already 10:12, so we just continue next week right from this stopping point right here, and we go into the Dead Sea Scrolls because it tells you a lot about exactly what this is talking about. It tells you how they came in covenant with each other. There was the Torah that was mandatory, that everybody knew the Torah, and it was live upright and righteous before the Most High. There was also rules in the community that they would agree to and they would covenant to. And if anyone would not come into covenant with that, they were not a part of the community. So that is showing you also how two can walk together. They don't agree on certain things because they become perfectly joined together in their mind by things that they said, we're going to agree that right now, these things right here, we're going to work on behind the scenes. And as Adon Yaakov said, we're not going to put this before the sheep and before the babes. They're supposed to be on milk anyway, so why do we want to do anything to disrupt their faith while they're trying to walk their salvation out? They just came out of the church, they just started embracing this, and now it says that the Most High gives us green pastures and still waters. Now they met with all this turbulence. We don't know when the Shabbat is. We don't know when the feast is. We got 10 Sabbaths, 10 Passovers, and that makes people say, well, no, these Hebrews don't know what they're doing. So if in another house, when I go to another house, I respect the house that I go to. I respect the house that I go to. If I go to another shepherd's house, I respect that shepherd's house. If they're keeping because one thing I would not want to do is anyone to disrupt my Shabbat, so I would not disrupt anyone else's Shabbat. But if I'm invited to someone's house, I'm going to respect their house on the day they believe in Shabbat because I understand their view of Shabbat. Just like many years ago, just to show you about joining together too and things that differ. This has been over 12 years ago now, I believe, maybe 10 years, 10, 12 years ago. Me and Lamar went to a Christian church in South Carolina. We was invited down by a brother who was converted to the faith. He wanted us to come down there and do a teaching. So we went down to the Christian church, me, Lamar, and Anion, as a matter of fact. So when we went down there, there's some things about me that a lot of y'all probably didn't know and wouldn't even really know if I never say it. Because a lot of times you just want to know where I stand because I'm not going to be the one to cause division. So my understanding of head covering, and I know some people wear the kippah or certain things, but I was not one based upon what it says in Corinthians that I said believe in covering the crown of my head. I would leave the crown of my head uncovered. So I will wear more for Mitri and would not cover the crown of my head, or I would not cover my head at all, right? But Haniah and Lamar did cover. But when we went down to that church, because two of my ox covered and I didn't cover, you know what I did? I made sure I had a head covering that day. Because I said the only thing they're going to look for is the difference in us. They're going to miss the whole message of us coming out here to teach them the name of the Most High, to teach them they got to keep laws, statutes, commandments, and to teach them what the true Sabbath is and how to keep Sabbath. That's our goal. And to introduce them to the Hebrew faith. But what they're going to look at, because I know people, they're going to ask, well, why are they dressed like this and you don't have one on? They're going to ask the question on something that wasn't even the topic. So me trying to be wise at the time and not showing no disunity, I made sure I covered my head when I went in with them. Why? So we were unified when we went in that place. And when I went in to do it, then Lamar said, well, no, if you don't believe it, why do it? And I said, because so even my brother at that time was like, well, you don't believe it, so you don't have to do it. I said, I agree. And I appreciate you for saying that. But I'm doing it for the sake of I know the people. So I'm wearing it, and the Most High understands why I'm wearing it at this particular point. I'm wearing it because I don't want the people to see any division amongst us. And so we went in to do the task at hand. Praise be to the Most High. So sometimes in taking the low and things like that, going with Don Yaakov said, the people need to see us join together a cod as one. You know, a cod as one, and we're not focused on the little differences, and we can still talk about those things later, or we can understand where we differ at, and they never even have to come up. Because when we come together, that is not going to separate me and my brothers from being brothers. The fact they wear coverings and I do not wear covering, that's not going to separate us. But there's some assemblies that when you go to, they will say that if you do not cover as a woman, you're not welcome here. And if you are covered as a man, you can't come in, and vice versa. There's something, if you will not put a covering on, you're not welcome there. If I go to one of the ones that said that you must cover to come in, and I'm out of town looking for a place to fellowship, I'll put the covering on to go into fellowship with my Achim. I'm not, you know, the Most High understand I'm trying to be like Job, be all things to all people. So I put my head covering on for the sake of not bringing disunity, you know. But now there are certain things that you will not get me to do. I will not denounce Mashiach for nobody. Not going to do it. But that does not mean I cannot go into an assembly where they do not believe in Mashiach, and I go there and I don't have to go in there and say Mashiach, Mashiach, Mashiach. Because what I tell everybody, I'm Torah only. Because Torah is the only thing that is our instructions. So all of us on this line, we're Torah only, but we believe in Mashiach. So when I go to a place where they don't believe in Mashiach, why would I go in there and I know they don't believe in Mashiach, trying to just get up there and just knowingly disrupt the service to go against, oh, well, y'all know I believe in Mashiach. No, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to enjoy service, I'm going to say Shabbat Shalom, I'm going to say Amen to the points that are sold. I'm going to doubt with brother and break bread and eat because I'm not there to teach. I'm there just to fellowship. So these are the things that we have to learn about not causing these divisions and how to learn to grow together. But again, how many of us will be able to humble ourselves to a certain place to be able to do some of those things? And then at what point do we draw a line where we say, well, now this is now going below humble. This is not me actually changing my character. Because if they ask me, I will not denounce Mashiach, you know. If they start having one of them conversations and start bashing people that believe in Mashiach, I will have to at that time say, well, brother, shalom, shalom, but now that y'all, to this point, I believe, I'm the one who believes. And then that may be the thing that's put the icing on the cake. They be like, what? Man, but you was reading the scripture with us. You was doing this in Hebrew. You can't don't because I'm Torah only too. But I believe in Mashiach. Then I may open them up and say, well, explain that because we couldn't even tell that you believe in Mashiach. And I can supposed to be able to say, well, why couldn't you? Because Mashiach taught Torah, Mashiach kept Torah, so it's one and the same to me. So the reason why you couldn't tell it because I don't have to do like the church do and say Jesus, 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 Jesus. I just got to walk in the character of Mashiach. I got to walk in the character of the Ruach. And so that's what Paul is saying also. That's a part that a lot of us miss about how to be all things to all people and how not to be the one that goes purposely to cause division, where some brothers will purposely go to cause division. So I'm going to yield there for the night because this topic here, Maury Dawood made it get real broad. So if y'all would meditate on that over the week, we'll pick back up from there. And I did have the Dead Sea Scrolls that I was going to put on the screen tonight for us to read through some of those things. And you're going to see how it was all about unity and the love of brothers, even in their communities. And you had to agree. So that's the thing. Like, listen, what can we agree to? What can't we agree on? Is what we can agree to strong enough and solid enough that we can walk together, or is the thing that we disagree on too big for us to dwell together in unity? And if so, with respect, can we say, well, I still love you, but there is a place that is better fit for me based upon what I believe, because what you want me to agree to would actually compromise my belief at this point. And so with that, these are the things we have to learn how to do. And me and Uncle Bet was having a good conversation the other day, right? So if there is a brother or sister, like we got to learn how to start using wisdom. If there's a brother that's a non-Messianic, that does not believe in Mashiach, he should not be so strong on not believing in Mashiach and so anti-Mashiach that he has a person that's coming out of a Christian church that is saying they want to know about the Hebrew faith. And the first topic he want to get on is he don't believe in Mashiach, and that's false. That's false. That's idolatry. Don't go there. Teach him the law, statutes, come out. You ain't even got to have that conversation. And then send him to Samak, send him to Dawood, send him to some of your ox that you know believe like that. And then even for me, myself, if there's a brother that said he is really struggling with Messiah and he can't accept it, but I feel like there's some good Torah sound teachers who I know that still are trying to walk in the right ruach, but they having some issues with the Brit Kadashah, then I would say, hey, don't go down there with them brothers that's Torah only because they got a bad shot on, they got a bad ruach on them. But the brother right here, at least that's a place where you to go learn how to keep a Shabbat, learn how to serve the Most High, and then I can constantly be praying for that individual, hoping that the Most High reveals to all of them who Mashiach really is, or through us, we can show them at some point. But that all comes with a mutual respect. And if we can have a mutual respect for one another, then that will be the way that we can start bridging some of the gaps with the doctrinal differences. So I'm going to yield at this point. I'm going to open the floor for anyone to have any comments or anything y'all want to add for the night. Sorry we did not get to the Dead Sea Scrolls, but the conversation was still well. So I want to open the floor for y'all to make any of the closing comments y'all would like to make at this time.
Shalom, shalom. I just want to say real quick, excellent lesson, Moray. This is really, really on point, and I'm so thankful that the Most High, allowed me the opportunity to be able to join you all, and I look forward to the future lessons as well. Very edifying, and I've taken a lot away from this particular lesson here tonight. So hallelujah.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. It's been an honor to have you on. I'll be Yahoo, my dear brother. All praises to Don for you being on with us tonight. We look forward to you building with us and continue to add wisdom and knowledge and understanding as we go forward together. Hallelujah, Don.
Hallelujah.
Floor is open. Anyone else? All right. Well, before we open it to the younger, I'm gonna open it to the Zakenes. Zakane with Simba, Zakane Eliyahu, do y'all have any words?
Shalom, shalom, everyone. Excellent dissertation. And I believe the Ruach is in a full manifestation throughout this whole engagement. I've always asked for clarity, knowledge, and wisdom. And of course, knowledge in and of itself without the application of how it is to be applied, which is wisdom, really doesn't profit much. So I believe that there was a lot of wisdom that was expounded on this evening. And I believe some of these questions that have been put forth will be answered in the upcoming weeks and months in a very poignant way. Because as I was speaking to a brother last Sabbath, we can learn to read the Hebrew, understand Torah, and walk in it. The thing, though, that set the first century believers apart was what was working in them and through them that had outward demonstration and manifestation of the Most High's power resonant within them. And I dearly look forward to that day when that's in full manifestation amongst us. That said, though, these things that have been brought up tonight are very critical and part and parcel to getting to that place where the clay is fit for the master's use. And I'm honored to have been invited here on this call, and it's been a real pleasure just sitting back listening. I yield the floor.
Toda, as I came for your words of wisdom. We look forward to the manifestation of what you were saying will come forward. We're looking forward to it and pray that we walk in the proper ruach so the Most High can continue to use us all. Hallelujah. Zakain Lasimba and Zakain Kenneth. I forgot that Galaxy 7 throws me off, so I know it's Zakain too. So Zakain Lasimba and Zakain Kenneth, if y'all have any words, the floor is open. Words that way. Adon,
all right.
Yes, sir.
I just want to just say again, like I said every week, I certainly do appreciate all the words that come forth, and I really do want to continue to lift up the young brothers that continue to bring forth the edification and their knowledge, and to the brothers that's joined us for the first time, I say welcome. I've been ever since we started this thing, and brother, you got a whole lot to look forward to, brother, because I'm here to tell you, you're about to be really exposed to a lot of uplifting truth and knowledge from everybody that's on this line.
Pray to the Most High, Barak's Kodash's name. And,
Toda.
Lasim, I seen your mic come on mute just a minute ago.
Yes, shalom, brothers again. It comes where I kind of look forward to this on a Thursday because it's uplifting to not know anybody personally, not knowing anybody background personally, and can just talk about the Bible and discuss what can be our future, what steps we need to start looking to implement to make some changes in our community, to start saying, like, listen, we have to start thinking about us. We have to start looking to see how we can start maintaining for ourselves food, water, clothing, whatever it is that we need to do as a people to start sustaining for ourselves. These are the things we need to start talking about and finding ways, because this government is done. It's dead. This whole America thing is not even coming back. If they're looking for that, then that we're going to perish, because they have some cruelty looking to come down the pipe for people who's the followers of Christ and keeping the Torah. So we need a family. We need togetherness. We need to figure out different ways to start implementing a proper community where we can start taking care of each other and not depending on this government.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. And at some point soon, Achim, December, and other Achim, we are working on something, and we'll be discussing it with everybody at some point really soon. But we're just working out some things, but we will be, sharing some information and some things that's in the works. So we'll be reporting in sometime soon, because we are definitely still focusing on community things. We have not dropped that thought process. We have not dropped that ball. We've just still been, putting the work in behind the scenes. But we will be having some information released to the group here soon, and needing your support, and for us to be able to bring this thing to pass. So hallelujah for your words, okay. All right, Adon Yaquab, you have anything for us, sir?
King Moray, Toda. I just want to say, echo whatever all the other Achim was saying, that this is Tob study. It is functional. What we're learning is to be functional. Especially as a brotherhood, and then come together as a community. And I think, at least what I'm getting is, there's a lot of things that if it's not against Torah, maybe you see it a different way. But if it's not against Torah, sometimes you just have to give up yourself for the betterment of the community, or for the betterment of and I'm just gonna say it plain and simple. For the gospel, is sometimes you just have to swallow your hesitation or your resistance if it's better for the Most High's work to be done.
Mm-hmm.
You might see it a different way, and you want your well, I'll just leave it like that. But for the most part, if it's not against Torah and what that shepherd or the leader that the Most High has put over a particular Knesset or flock, if it's not against Torah, like you said, follow, like Scripture said too, follow me as I follow Mashiach. If your difference in an understanding is not against Torah, then sometimes you just have to just let that go if it's going to better the community and the Most High's word can come out.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Total for that wisdom, Adon. Total for that wisdom. And we've been doing something a certain way. I just want to explain it tonight. Realize what I do a lot of times. We do have elders that's on the call with us, and and Yaquab is Adon Yaquab is one of the actual teaching elders of the Knesset. However, we have elders that in age are older than Adon Yaquab. So when we open the floor, you notice we try to open it to the elders first, because we have to retrain our minds and renew our minds back to having the respect like it was in Israel. And so, and as we get to the Dead Sea Scrolls, you're going to see that it had a lot of that in there also, about the respect level, about, we've got to the point where we so anti-title. And the reason why we anti-title is because how the church people have used it, and how some people esteem themselves with titles. However, titles are still important if applied right. Not that the individual with the title is so caught up in their title, but that we recognize everyone for their title, for their age, for their function, for their purpose, and we give due respect where respect is due. And the scripture tell you to honor them with gray hairs. So we give them the honor amongst us to speak before us, and also that's the reason why we give them the floor first, and then we open up to the younger Achim in that order. And we're doing it that way because we have to start somewhere renewing our minds. And going back to what Elder Lasimba asked about all these differences, if we can't start with a small group and get some younger brothers to even be able to respect elders, we would never even get feast days together anyway. So that's why I just want y'all to understand that the method to why we open the floor to certain people first, and then we start opening to everybody else. It's not a being disrespectful to anyone or who was here first or anything. We just kind of open it to the elders and let them get their words out. And that's just the reason why we do it that way, so we can get used to that. Because like I said, as we get through some more of those writings, we're going to see like how the honor was set up. And it's just an honor. Like the elders gave honor where honor is due to the younger men, but the younger men got to make sure they give honor where honor is due to the elders. And we just do all things decent in order. So this whole process of this men study is a learning process for us all. You know, not just when we talk in scripture, but just the way we do certain things that might have not even been explained yet is all a part of renewing our mind to be able to return to the past or old at the Most High. So that's why we do it that way. So now this time we're going to open the floor now to the other Achim, starting with Marlon and Uncle Bet, if they have any words, and then the floor will be open freely to everyone else. And Maury Dawood, I'm going to give you any of the closing statements, Achim, after the Achim.
What was said today, total agreement, nothing more to add.
Hallelujah.
Oh, hold on, I had to hook my mic back up. See this headset for this computer. I had to unplug the headset to actually listen real clear while I'm recording. But it was total lesson, edifying lesson that you put out, man. The unity. That's the one big thing that we are lacking in our community is the unity. The different doctrine. If we could just put away the doctrines and come together in unity, man. I see life be joyful, but unity, that's the big thing. Tahitian 133, that's one big thing. We all gotta live by. Torah always first, but still though, one thing I like about in the Masor, if it says how can you love Elohim who you never seen but hate your brother, who you see every day, who you talk to, and so even our brothers out there that's not into the walk, not seeking Yah and doing wrong, I still pray for them out there, because there's still our brothers out there that's lost, that been over time been indoctrinated with doctrine. And one of the biggest doctrines that have been indoctrinated on our people from the past is the Widow Lynch doctrine. That doctrine, and you see it in our people. I had a discussion with my coach and my sister today, because we had she tried to have her little debate, but I don't debate, and it's about the Black Lives Matter, and I explained to her why I don't support the Black Lives Matter, even though I know there's some weakness by who started the stuff, but I didn't go into all that. They said this is my reason. I told them, I said, look, the only time it looked like Black Lives Matter when the video and TV and media involved. But when Black Lives Matter gonna matter to our own people? My sister, she kind of heated because she indicted with the media and how the police and all that. I said, I don't condone any one of them police. I said, I got pulled over the police a few times. This coming from Shabbat, my daughter, and one cop had his hand on his gun. But you got to know how to talk to them people, because them people are afraid of us. Even our own people are afraid of us. That's why they don't even fight no more. Back then, growing up, we would fight and shake hands and go. Today, if you say something crazy to a brother out there, they'll shoot you and kill you. Why is that? So I told my sister, I don't fear what the police gonna do to my children. I fear what my own people that's not in the way of the Most High gonna do to my own children, because I see in our communities how they're killing each other out here with no remorse. I told my sister, I said, she tried to say, well, because they are felons, they can't get jobs. And then I said, I had that same mind state too once in the past because of the things that you hear in the media and hear people say. But when I had seen with my own eyes and worked in the prison system and seen all them programs, and I seen brothers that didn't want to apply to none of these programs. I even could, influence brothers to apply for the program. I said, I used to tell these brothers, I'm not going to judge you for what you did in the past. But my judgment is going to be what you do now and when you get out. I said, take advantage of all these programs because like I'll tell some of the brothers, I was amazed to see all the programs they had in the prison to get certified. You get certification in the prison. You could be a certified electrician, plumber, mechanic, all that before you get out of prison. They had job fairs in the prison, companies coming to the prison for prisoners that about to get out. So I had a brother that did 20-something years. Help him get his certification, influence him. Now he out here making over $20-something out here at the shipyard. And every week, I send him some scriptures and I check on him. He always say thank you. We just gotta be out. We just gotta be like you say. We gotta action speak louder than words. We gotta be that light to people. I was trying to before this corona. This how Shaitan worked, right? This how the wickedness worked. Before I was left Virginia to come down here, I put something in place where prisoner fellowship. There's something called prison fellowship. They have all these religions and they all white coming to our people. So we had a bunch of brothers came to me and said, man, I like what you talking about. Can you set something up here? So you know what I did?
Sorry, I'm having trouble.
Sorry, that's serious. So I sat down with the warden. The warden is a sister, and she understood where I was coming from. I talked to the chaplain. I would even talk to Adon Dawu and Adon Baruch, even Adon Malak. And I had everybody to fill out the forms because they had to do a background check. I was putting in place to have the Israelite program, Hebrew Israelite program in the prison over there at St. Rod. And everything was in play going well, then Corona hit. I said, look at how the adversary work. Look how the adversary work. This is all the adversary with this coronavirus. But once this stuff died down, which it's gonna die down, people think the coronavirus bad, but they don't. If they look at the history about the Spanish flu hit us 2 waves back in 1918, 19, and it was way worse than the coronavirus. And eventually it faded away. And this is gonna happen to the coronavirus, and then a few years later they're gonna invent another virus. So, but once this stuff starts fading, we have to start getting back and let's try to get into the prison system with the prison fellowship because them brothers is looking for that. And they need our influence and showing that, look, hey, we have brothers that know that they could work for the government, state and city government as a felon. I work with a couple of felons that work with the city government with me and the state government. I actually had 2 felons that got certified in the prison and worked for the wastewater plant in the prison, back in the prison. So when I was telling them that, they were so amazed because they don't know. But they need us, our brothers like us, to be that light to them, But I know I say it a lot, but I enjoy these studies, man. And it's all about building brotherhood. And like you said, we got to be that sheep to learn to be shepherds so we can lead our people. Not just our people that's in the Israelite kingdom, our people that's out there lost that don't know. They're still out there with a lynch. And the biggest thing I see that we need to get into is the prison. And once some of this corona clear up, we need to get back to. I remember one time we all came together and we did a canoe out there in D.C. feeding the homeless. And we did a lesson with the homeless. That was something for us to get back doing also. It's told. I like the traveling. I like when we get together, man, and we be on one accord. That's all I had to put out.
Too much. A lot of nights you don't say anything, so when you got something to speak, we want to hear it. We want to hear it. So all praise to the Most High, and yeah, when this corona do clear up, you just brought something back to my remembrance because I know me and Adon Yaqua was working on getting back in the prison system down here. We already actually are authorized. We just got to go through getting recertified to be able to come back in. So praise be to the Most High that even said that. So when they do break, we probably need to go ahead and be putting our paperwork in now anyway. So when it does break, we can come in again. So total for that, Adon. All right, Dawood, I'll give you the closing floor, Bore.
Hey, hallelujah. I don't, I wasn't here for the whole thing, so, but I do know that the Most High has, He has continued to place His children under the same roof. So we just got to find out why He placed us all together. There's a couple movies out here. Friends lose a friend, and they all come back to the house, and they have to do something together in their, movies. But same thing is occurring now. The Most I say he is going to gather us, right? But He's going to start in sections. And those sections are supposed to do something in order to join to a bigger section, and so on and so forth. So everybody who is up here, we're not up here for no reason. There are a lot of different camps, as we spoke about tonight. There's a lot of different doctrines out here, but we're all here. So we can't take it for granted. I love all y'all. Let's just continue to build and do the work, be the Torah. That's it.
Hallelujah. You gonna do the closing prayer, Don?
Slicker don't. Slicker don't for that before you do the prayer. Adon, you want? I know it's late, but you want to discuss it about Rishon, or you want to just wait on that? Can. Slicker, go ahead, Adon. Maury, I'm sorry about that.
By Almighty El, bless your Kodesh name, for you are the one that we look to for our salvation. And the one that responds to our cries. Oh yeah, we thank you. For even this gathering, with your Anashim, with your man Abiyah, those whom you have called, even from the darkness into your marvelous light, those whom you have connected through various ways, Father Yah, that without you, we would not possibly even know each other. But it is only through you and through your word, Father Yah, that you have brought brothers back together. Allow us to not take this for granted, Father Yah, to not leave it at this particular stage, but to continue to develop, Father Yah, continue to grow with one another, to sharpen one another, Father Yah, not causing division, but to cause an increase in strength, an increase in wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, Father Yah, that can only come from you, through the love that we have for one another. Allow not the adversary, Father Yah, for you control all things. Allow not the adversary to come in between us. Allow not titles, Father Yah, which only dictates function, to go to anyone's head, Father Yah. For you rise up and you bring low. You set kings in place all over the earth, Father Yah, so there's none that does not answer to your call. We all serve you. Our King, our Elohim, our Shepherd, the one who leads us truly beside still waters in green pastures, that we may be fed and that we may drink, that we may have shalom, and that you will be in our midst. That is our goal, that is the vision. For that was your goal And that has always been your vision, Father Yah, for us to live together as a community with the head, our Elohim, being in the midst of us. We pray that you bless the work of our hands, Father Yah, that may be manifested. Not only for us, Father Yah, but more importantly for our Yeladim, for the children of the next generation, that they may see what it means to truly be Israel, not a fractured nation, Abiyah, but a unified people that worships one El, and that teaches every nation, regardless of hue, what it means to be righteous and truly serve. So we thank you, we honor you. Baruch Atah Yahuwah, Baruch Hashem Yahuwah, Baruch Haba Hashem Yahuwah. Bless are you, Yahuwah. Bless the name Yahuwah. Bless he who comes in the name of Yahuwah. Hallelujah. Amen.
Hallelujah. Amen. Amen.
Hallelujah. Amen.